are all set. Text Myles and see where this man's at. All right, guys, heads up. This is going to be a live show with Myles. So if you guys do have any questions or anything like that, once we start diving into stuff, feel free to leave a comment. And, if we have time, we'll let Myles answer some of the questions or anything like that. You guys are going to like this one. I know Myles personally. I'll kind of wait and let him intro himself and tell you guys about it, a little bit about his story and kind of where he comes from and what he's doing now. It's pretty awesome if you ask me. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. So excited to, kick off the podcast and kick off everything that we're going to do with the Real Impact by having, Myles on here. So as soon as he gets on and gets all set up, we'll bring him in and get him going.
Yo,
Myles, what's going on, man?
what's up, buddy? I am so sorry. I had some technical difficulties, man. I'm out and about, and I had to restart my phone, and I'm actually doing it on my phone because it's kind of crazy. But anyway,
good. Well, cool, man. Well, I kicked us off a little bit. I'm excited to have you on, man. I was just telling that, I've known you for a little while now, and your story and everything like that's incredible. But outside of that, man, just like what you're doing, outside of everything, with your family, with the real estate and your journey so far is awesome, right? So I wanted to let you kind of open the floor. Guys, this is welcome to another episode of the Real Impact. I'm Austin Rice, and the guest we got today is Myles Berrio, right? Yeah.
Yes, Myles Berrio.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So I'll kind of let Myles, tell you about himself and a little bit about his story, and then we'll kind of dive in with everything.
Yeah, man. And forgive me if this isn't the standard way of how you go about these interviews, but I do my best interviews when it's more so like just conversation, Q&A, ask whatever you want to ask. Cause it's weird when you kind of just tell your story in a way and kind of so I mean I'll just start with just by saying I'm 29, I'm out in the South, Greenville, South Carolina. I was a wedding and commercial photographer before I was doing real estate. So I traveled all over the world shooting weddings and working with brands, Netflix, Uber Eats, WeWork. I've been all over the world, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Canada, Mexico, DR. I mean, just crazy stuff. So it was awesome. It was a great career. But once my wife and I got married and we moved to Greenville, COVID hit. And we definitely had to obviously transition. And I had always wanted to get into real estate. I just never really knew how to go about it in the way that I know now. I thought you had to, essentially save up hundreds of thousands of dollars or, at least, tens of thousands of dollars to try to buy something and then flip it or whatnot. I never understood the idea of leveraging capital, which is crazy because obviously I make way more money today. I've ever made in my entire life. And I never use my money. I'm always leveraging, other people's capital. So it's just so crazy. It's such a big myth.
I want to dive into that too, because I think that's a huge barrier to entry for people too. I mean, especially when people think about real estate and think about getting into real estate. I think one of the, like you said, right, one of their biggest drawbacks is well, I don't have all this money saved up. Right. I don't have 20% to put down on an investment property or whatever the case is. So I think like you said, a lot of people's drawbacks is, well, I don't have, hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands saved up to, to get started. So, I mean, how did you kind of overcome that? How did you get started, with everything? Obviously I know the story, right? But
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it was just by the grace of God, man. I mean, I was definitely searching for income opportunities, but it really came out of nowhere. It was on a YouTube video. I was watching the Club, which is just so funny because it has nothing to do with real estate. 99% rap and musicians. It's just I listen to it literally just to stimulate my brain in other ways. You don't want to just like personal development. I do so much personal development. I mean, just all the guys you can think of: John C. Maxwell, Darren Hardy, Les Brown, T.R. Beck. I mean, but you got to kind of stimulate your brain in other ways because it'll just give you ideas and concepts, which is funny, kind of like this. So I just listen to Breakfast Club, just stimulating my brain just in other ways. And then they interviewed a guy that talked about how he got started in real estate. And he was doing all this, doing all these deals and, never had to worry about his credit or, never had to worry about, tax returns and using your own money. This whole, the typical pitch, right? So I was like, well, like COVID, and I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't want to obviously use my credit and all these things. So it sounded good to me, but essentially it was wholesaling real estate. And that's how I got started. It allowed me to learn pretty much everything I needed to learn about how to underwrite deals, how to evaluate a real estate opportunity. And, just by getting started with wholesaling, I learned both seller and buyer side because obviously you have to learn how to communicate to a seller. What are their needs, what they want? How can you identify their needs and then solve that problem? And then for a buyer, how can you build relationships with a buyer, an investor, and figure out how this property would make sense to them? Obviously if you come to an in buyer with a deal that's like, maybe the property, fully renovated is worth, 100,000, and it's going to take like, let's just simple numbers, $10,000 to make it, market value. You do like the 70% of ARV. So you're at 70, you got to subtract the $10,000 of repairs. So you need to be under that number. But if you're coming to the guy and saying like, hey, I got a deal for $85,000, it's going to take, 10K, only a little bit of work, but it's only going to be worth 100,000. Like, dude, you just don't understand like what it takes to buy real estate at a certain price, and then all the expenses that so it forced me to learn all of that. So then when I was doing deals, I was making money, but also then becoming more confident and more competent in understanding how to build a real estate business. So, to get back to your question about, getting deals funded. Well, when I bought my first property, I had so much confidence because I had learned so much by wholesaling. And then I was doing some deals. So there was proof of concept, like, okay, this guy, Myles knows what he's doing. And I think there's one thing that definitely a lot of people take for granted. And it's not that you can't be successful if you're not doing this, but it definitely leaves a lot of opportunities on the table. And that's building content around what you're doing. You don't have to become this mega influencer, but I mean, I just think the average person can at least just document their journey. And that's what I did. I wasn't some expert, but I just said, hey, I'm just going to document my journey. And because of that, I had people
highs,
literally
lows, the good, bad. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, my first private money lender, she never met me in person. She had never met me in person, and she lent me over $100,000. So it was my first fix and flip. I think it was like 70. I can't remember what the purchase price was. It might have been like 75,000 and then like 50,000 repair. I can't remember, but basically I remember her lending $118,000. And she had never even met me in person, and it literally got wired to closing. We never met. And it was because I had such a brand and such documentation that this guy's like obviously not like messing around, and he's obviously doing deals. And of course she did a little bit of her due diligence, obviously talking to people and whatnot. But anyway, to answer your question, that's what allowed me from, first of all, that's what got me into real estate was wholesaling.
Yeah.
But then it was really being able to earn while you learn. And it built my confidence to be able to buy my first deal by leveraging private money. And, it was a great education to be confident in what I was going to do at that point. So that's kind of how I got started in real estate, and then it started being a buyer as well.
Oh yeah, man. No, I mean, I think that's super important, right? Like, cause like you said, man, like learning the wholesale side forced you to like know your numbers, right? It forced you to learn like what buyers are expecting, what kind of returns they're looking for, how they're analyzing their rehabs, right? I think a lot of people miss that, right? I think a lot of people, when they get into wholesaling, they just look at it from like their angle, right? I think that's where a lot of people, kind of get stuck. And, I think, you did really, like you said, right? Like looking at it from both angles and understanding like, okay, I need to buy here, but here's why I have to be under contract at this price, right? Because this buyer's looking for a, 20% return on the flip, or they're looking for an 8% yield or whatever the case is, right? So I think that's a huge little nugget right there, man. And then also too, man, I mean, so a little backstory, right? I think I met you, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about a year,
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
It was about a year and a half ago, right? So me and Myles went to this same mastermind. I never met him in person before or anything like that. We ended up rooming together.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dude, I'll never forget, man. I'll never forget. I don't know what you were listening to or what it was, right? I'm one of those people that like when I go to sleep, I got to have like everything dark, the TV off, like no sound, right? So Myles hit the hay early one night and we were all hanging out. I come in and he's got his phone on his chest and he was listening to a book. Right? And it was loud, right? And he's out. I mean, cold. And so, dude, I didn't have the nerve to like wake you up and be like, yo, dude, can you turn it off? Like, and so I literally just went to sleep listening to whatever book it was, man. It was funny, man.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I just wanted to, kind of fill that in to ask you a question. Like, so from there, right? Because obviously, I know where your business was then. Like we all, broke down everything. From just a little over a year ago to now. How has your mindset shifted? How has your business changed?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously I've seen it by keeping up with you, but just for everybody that's listening or watches this later, like how have you shifted and changed, from in just a year, right?
Yeah. No. It's great. I love this because it just points back to, I think a lot of us are chasing bigger and more and bigger and more. And I think the reality is we need to start focusing more on identifying what kind of investor we want to be. What are your values? What are your actual goals as a human being as a whole? Not just like what kind of money you're trying to make or how big you're trying to scale. Because when I was at that event, I definitely had the mindset of like scale. I need to do more deals. I need to be bigger. And I've actually had so much more of a joyful and fulfilling life. My wife, our family is happier. Our life, not that it wasn't before, but just like I'm not focusing on how many more deals I can do. I'm focusing on how much more fulfilling is my journey and my purpose. And it actually is causing for more deals to happen without me actually working as hard, which is interesting. The reason for that is you're going back to like what you're saying is like, what did my business look like at that time? It looked like me really trying to build like a wholesale operation, where I was trying to like figure out how to have, first of all, I just remember too distinctively, like, man, should I have an office or not have an office? Yeah. It seems like cool. Everyone that's cool has like an office space and a bigger office space, and I need to get an office space, or like, I got to hire, my acquisitions, dispositions, I need more cold callers. I got guys I'm seeing, doing, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals a month, with like, 10 cold callers and text, all this stuff. And, long story short, where my business has come today. So it's been really exciting. Number one, I focus more on building a lot more private money relationships. So instead of focusing on just doing more transactions and wholesaling, I focused on realizing that at the end of the day, my end goal is to build wealth. And there are some investors that literally don't really build well. I mean, they make a lot of like highly taxed income because they have a huge wholesaling business or even fixing flip that's just like transactional, and it's a lot of money that you got to figure out how to offset. But what I've done is I pulled back and I've started kind of looking at it more as like slow and steady wins the race, right? Like I could go full throttle crazy fast and grow fast, but it's kind of like profit first, right? It's not about how much money you're making. You hear, a company is $100 million company. Yeah, but they're not making any profit, right? It's not about just scaling to how big you can be this big, whatever company. It's like, what's your profitability? And that's not honest. That's not all, also talking in my mind just monetarily, but even just emotionally. Like,
right.
I think that there's profit spiritually, profit mentally, profit emotionally. So it's how are you profitable just in general, all around as a human being? So what I've actually done is I've focused more on building better and more relationships that I'm able to pour into, add value to, that then also I'm allowed, and I say that allowed because it's really an ask. When you leverage someone's money, you're asking to leverage their capital. They don't have to give it to you. When you're leveraging a relationship that you have, it's an ask, and the answer could be no, right? But because of how I'm pouring into relationships that I'm building, it is allowing me to grow my business in a way that doesn't require, more expenses, more overhead. So no, I don't have an office today. My office is kind of like my car. It's so funny. I kind of go on Amazon and I buy all the little things that make my car an
I
office.
saw your little desk that you put on your steering wheel. Yeah,
exactly. So I have like a little compatible steering wheel desk that I could just very easily pull off on the side of the road. I pay for like a really, really awesome high quality hotspot on all my basically electronics, where anywhere I am. I'm like, you don't even know, I'm like literally outside of Viva La Chicken, if you want to know. I'm like, anyway, kind of randomly out and about. So I could pretty much get online and just do calls, just do anything from anywhere I am. But then also building relationships in the sense that I wasn't necessarily seeking to be a mentor, so to speak, or build a mentorship, but yeah, I have like this small mentorship called Wholesale to Freedom. And the idea is that it's not just about wholesale, but wholesaling is obviously what got my start. And it's allowed me to dive into all the freedom that I'm able to experience today. Like my 7-month-old going to swim class yesterday, and it was literally just like just a random day, like in the afternoon, and I can or actually today's Monday, so he has that was a makeup session, but he has one during the week that I could just go to just because I want to, rather than like, oh, I need to talk to my boss or have to like figure out my scheduling. Like I can just go, like, and it's like that kind of freedom. So I had people reaching out that were just like, dude, how are you doing what you're doing? How are you doing what you're doing? Because again, I document my journey. So I would just share with people all the time, like how I was doing what I was doing. Because dude, I'm all about like, dude, just I don't have this scarcity mindset. Like there's so much opportunity out there. Like I'll share with you whatever I'm doing. But it did get to the point where it was like understanding, when you're a high performer, you really start to identify like where your time is going. And I just realized sometimes I was really just wasting time with, or I wasn't wasting time. They were wasting my time.
Into people that aren't going to do anything with it.
Right. And I'm just like, all right, I can't just, so what I ended up doing is I said, you know what, I'm going to build a small little community to where I can pour all the time that I want and need to. But these are people that are literally and obviously committed because they're paying, and there is something to be said about obviously paying for,
skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that they're committed. I know that they're serious, and it's not outrageous. I'm not, I don't have any of these high ticket, $7 grand, $8 grand, 10 grand. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but my goal was to at least just make sure that I could pour into as many people as possible. But it'd still be affordable enough to where they feel like, okay, I can get really, really great value, and learn a lot of stuff, but it's not necessarily going to break the bank. And it's just been a great, man, dude, I've helped, like, I have my own podcast, right? The Amputee Investor. And I mean, you could even one of the last episodes that I just did with one of my students, Marcella, dude, she's a freaking school teacher and has literally done over like $14,000, by being just in a group and teaching her and showing her all the different things on how to create income. And she basically she helps her mom and dad. They're older in age, and and she's like a teacher and making this kind of income from home. She never even left her house. One of the deals, because she did 2 deals so far, and one of them was literally the house that I bought for my family and I. So it's a 4-bed, 2-bath in Anderson on 15 acres. I mean, we're yeah, man, we're like in full renovation of it right now. It's gonna be absolutely gorgeous. But we bought that from her, paid her $7,000. So that was her first assignment. And then there's this other lake house deal in Anderson, and she doesn't even live in South Carolina. She lives in Phoenix. So she's doing all this from her freaking bedroom. And it's stuff like that being able to pour into. So what's cool though is I do a lot of deals with the students, right? They reach out and they want to go through deals, and we go through them together and we JV. So I've been able to basically change people's lives, but also get paid while doing it. And it's just a really, really awesome opportunity to have my business where I'm doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals a month, a number of them for my own business, but then a number of them helping other people. So my expenses, my overhead is, honestly, almost practically zero. Other than maybe the one virtual assistant that I have that's cold calling just to have some leads that are still coming in that I control, right? A lot of it is just people that are just bringing the opportunities or working with my students. And again, it's the idea of, pouring into others and leveraging, that allows the business to grow. So all in all, I have the fix and flip, but I'm not doing that full throttle. The buy and hold, I'm doing that full throttle, but I only buy creatively. I don't do the burr. where you buy low enough and then renovate it and then go to the bank to try and do a refinance. I don't know. I'm just not about the refinance type of game, just because I learned creative finance and being able to buy deals like, dude, and you'll see this obviously on my social media or anyone else, like this short-term rental that I'm closing on in about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And, everyone's seeing it on my social media as I'm like basically buying all the furnishing for it, whatnot. It's in Greenville, South Carolina, 3-bedroom. Dude, I'm buying this short-term rental for $0 down, 0 interest, literally $0, 0 down, 0 interest. I owe the seller $1,000 a month. And at $165 a night, which is not outrageous for a 3-bedroom, 165. I mean, think about when you go to a hotel.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Yeah.
$150, for a night at a hotel, $140. And it's a 3-bedroom. It's a little over, it's almost $5,000. It's like $4,700 if it was fully occupied. But even at 50% occupancy, I'm basically netting over $1,000. And then I looked at what are the lowest amount of days that I need to have this property occupied for me to just cover my, mortgage with the seller and whatnot. And it's literally 7 days. So literally just 7 days out of the month. Because I can use it as a short-term rental. But the idea is like, man, I'm buying it 0 down, 0 interest. So there's like no need to ever go to the bank. And it works as a rental property too. It rents for about $1,500. So anyway, it's stuff like that, man. That's just been really, really exciting for the business. My focus right now is finishing out this renovation for our house because we're on 15 acres, homestead. Super stoked about being able to create a farm life for my family and just live in the city and just do deals virtually. And then just growing and helping the community, just pouring into more and more people in the community as new students get started and whatnot. And then, like I said, very, small, like maybe 1 or 2 deals throughout the year. Might fix and flip if it makes sense. But I do enough with wholesaling. It's just like I don't even want to do the headache of having to fix and flip unless it's just like a smoking deal. And then creatively just buying deals to hold, obviously, for tax purposes and wealth purposes, which is the biggest thing. So, and some other little things throughout all of that. But that's essentially kind of where I'm at now, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Because I think, whenever we first met, I think you were just getting into creative finance. You had just dipped into like the sub 2 and creative finance stuff, and you were primarily wholesaling, right? And I remember multiple conversations, right, of like, dude, how many cold callers should I get for one where should I find an acquisitions manager? Like, I remember all those conversations, man. So that's awesome to hear that. And I'm a big proponent of that too, man. Like, I think too many people get caught up in like you said, like this vision and this goal, right, of like this huge operation, this huge company. And like you said, like a lot of those companies really aren't that profitable, right? A lot of them are running at like 15-20% profitability, if that, right? And so like I agree, man. Like, and that's the thing, right? Like, obviously, like my business model is a little bit different, right? We're building up a team in-house, we're building up a culture, we're building everything. And I think we just lost Myles. He'll rejoin back in, but our business model is a little bit different than Myles, where we actually do have an office and we have everybody in house, and we're growing it that way, versus the virtual model. I don't think there's anything wrong with either one. I think, again, it just goes back to like what your goals are, right? So let me text Myles and see. I think he got kicked. He got booted. His phone actually might have died. But yeah, guys, once Myles joins back in, I'm gonna have Myles go into a little bit more detail about there was something that significantly impacted Myles' life, right before, or right as he got started into real estate. That, to be completely honest, for a lot of people would have stopped, right? A lot of people that would have happened, and they would have just quit, right? They would have given up, found something else, or just kind of really dug a hole for themselves. One of the biggest things that I respect about Myles is his mindset, right? Moving forward. And so once he hops back in, I'll kind of have him explain a little bit about that. There we go. Hey.
So sorry. Dude, my phone overheated. It was like I was in the sun, and then it just
yeah. Hey, that's that South Carolina sun for you, man.
But you said you're a little different. Yeah, you guys are building a team.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, obviously, like, our business are a little bit different, but neither one of them, like you said, is neither one of them is right or wrong, because at
Right.
the end of the day, it's all about, like, what the goal for the individual person is, right? Like, your goal is to, be home and be, not do as many volume deals, but also build, like, more relationship based and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My big thing,
what I tell my students is, like, you can get really good at generating leads and be a lead generation machine, which is absolutely amazing because you're generating leads. There's so much power in being able to generate leads. Again, there's nothing wrong. It's not about one being better or worse. It's just however you're operating. Like, is it align with your goals? For me, rather than me trying to be a generating lead machine, what I've realized is I am much more effective by being a lead magnet. I have leads that come to me. Dude, there's deals. I haven't even responded to people that have reached out to me, like 4 or 5 text messages right now that I need to go respond. One's like a lot deal. Another one's just like a flip opportunity. I mean, just leads where people just see what I'm doing because because I'm communicating, because I'm connecting, because I'm showing up and different things. And, I'm on different, all these different things. Leads just come. And I would rather, again, 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a peanut. I don't mind splitting the profit with somebody if it keeps my expenses down and my overhead down, and I can sleep at night and I can just have leads that are, basically, again, being a magnet coming, and we can just do deals together. Now, of course, there's little things that I'm just doing myself, obviously, but again, that's that slow and steady. I don't need to move fast.
right.
I just deep in terms of how good are these deals. And I mean, dude, you could spend a lot of money to get 10 grand, 5 grand, 4 grand, 2 grand, 3 grand, and that's great. But man, being able to buy a house for $0 down, 0 interest, I mean, that is so, like, of a crazy cash on cash return. That's just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Anyway, so
yeah, no, and I was also saying too, like, one of the biggest things is, about you that I respect a lot is, like, your mindset, dude. Like, your perseverance and your mindset, because I didn't say anything, but whenever you first got started, there was a significant thing that happened that for a lot of people would have made them quit, like, completely altogether, would have made them quit, right? And I'll kind of leave that up to you if you want to kind of dive into that, or if you want to explain kind of what that was. But I mean, and we'll talk a little bit more, but to kind of get over that and then still, crush the deals and still, be accountable and still hold yourself accountable and still move forward. I want to dive into, like, the mindset behind that. Obviously we've spoke about it, right? But
I mean, essentially, I think, I don't even know now. I think maybe 6, 7 months into the real estate game, you're just crushing it, doing deals. You're kind of growing. It's exciting, and then sometimes life hits you hard. Life can happen to anybody. No one's exempt, from the sins of this world. And what I mean by that is there was a lady just drinking. She was drunk. Drunk driver basically hit me head on at like 91 miles per hour. And that's not exaggeration. The only reason I even know that is because my wife, and she even taught me this, I didn't even know this, that apparently the speedometer freezes when you have a car accident so that they know what speed people are going when there's accidents and stuff. So her speedometer froze at like 91. Mine was just below 35. So it was in a 35, a 35 lane, and she was going 91. So you can imagine the impact. So I almost died, for sure. I obviously am super grateful to be alive today. But I do have tons of injuries. So my left arm is not functional at all. My hand is, my whole arm is essentially like a burn victim. A lot of people think I was in a fire or something. There's a lot of skin graft. They had to take out a ton of muscle, so my fingers don't move at all. My right foot has what's called foot drop, so I have to wear a brace. And if I don't, then my foot just drops and I just trip over it. So because I can't lift it up. And then my left leg had to get amputated through the knee. So I lost my leg on that and have a prosthetic. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Obviously, every day I wake, and some people get to wake up and just make a protein shake, hit the gym, and go out and do whatever, or just put on your skirt or your outfit and go downtown, whatever you want to do. But every day I'm like, dang, I don't have a leg. I got to put basically armor and gear on just to even get out of the bed. And it was tough. It was rough. Obviously, I was in the hospital for a number of months. I had to learn how to walk, how to learn how to talk, how to learn how to really just even do all the basic things, how to hold a fork again. I mean, my fingers and everything just didn't work the same. And so I just, again, it's all about, it's never what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you, right? I think I talked a little at the mastermind. But it is true, right? Like, it's never the situation, it's always the story you tell yourself, right? And because and I won't necessarily go through the whole story, but there's like that story of like the two brothers. One who, was a drunk and a deadbeat and just wasn't successful, and his brother was absolutely mega successful, and they both came from the same household. And they were both interviewed, like, why was one better, had more success than the other. And what's funny is they both said the same thing, right? Like, well, what do you expect? My dad was a drunk, a deadbeat, etc. But for one brother, that became a story that he told himself, that this is the way life is supposed to be, or this is all I'm worth. So he just became that. Whereas the other brother let that be a motivator, right? And not necessarily like captivate him and hold him back. He saw that as a way to motivate and propel him. So it was the same situation, but it was the story that they told themselves that produced different results. So it wasn't about what happened to me. I mean, yeah, it sucked, but a lot of things suck with people, right? Life is beautiful to make. A lot of things, like, I mean, just all types of things that can happen. You get a speeding ticket, you get fired from your work, you get hit with cancer. I mean, all these things are just like, dang, that sucks, man. That's, it's just challenging or difficult, right? We all go through it. So that's not what makes us unique. It's how we can operate, how we can navigate through those challenges and produce, despite of whatever, case might be. So, yeah, man. I mean, mindset's huge for me. It's just important. You're stronger than your body. And I'll say one last thing is that's not just a motive. Like, it is true that your mind is stronger than your body. And we know this because why is it that you could be sleeping, your eyes are closed, you're in the comfort of your bed, and you're having this nightmare dream, maybe getting chased by a lion or something. Who knows? It doesn't even matter. But your heart rate actually increases. You wake up and you're like, we see it in movies, or you're just like, your actual heart, your literal heart rate increased, and your body literally produced sweat to cool itself. Like, your body's actually physically doing things even though nothing's happening at all.
Right. And you're immobile in your bed.
Yeah, you're literally in bed, but it's your mind is so powerful that because it seems so real, it forced your body to produce and get into whatever state it needed to be able to survive or to be able to navigate. And that's how powerful your brain. You can literally you could put your body, your actual physical body, in a different state, literally by leveraging your mind, your mindset. So, it's mindset's so important, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I'm obviously, like, my background, a little bit of it, is with football and the fitness industry and stuff like that. So, I mean, a big thing too is like when you're working out, right? Like, they say typically, like, when you work out, whenever your muscles like reach failure, you still got like 2 or 3 more reps, like, mentally, that you still could have done, right?
Yep.
Because your body, your physical body, is going to give out before you actually reach failure. It's a fail safe, right? Because your body, obviously, whenever you're working out, like whenever you're pushing through, you're making, micro tears inside your muscles, right? So, like, your body wants to stop before you actually reach that failure point. And, to your point, like, your mind is so much stronger than your physical body. Because, yeah, dude, I've seen guys push through and push through and push through. Just because their mindset is, that's like, David Goggins, right? For instance, the dude's a machine, right? But he always says, like, his strongest muscle is his mindset, and if you guys don't know who David Goggins is, I highly recommend figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, man, like, what would be like some of your advice? Obviously, like you said, man, like, everybody's got challenges, right? Everybody's going to have things going on. Nobody's life is an identical, copy paste to somebody else's. So everybody's going to have their own unique, challenges and things that pop up. What's extremely difficult to one person is not always going to be extremely difficult to another, right? So what would be like your advice as far as like people going through challenges, like how to overcome those and how to really push past those, and everything, moving forward?
Yeah, 2 things I always share. Number one, gratitude. Really take that for granted. But it's all about the perspective. It's all about, again, the story you tell yourself. And a lot of times when we're going through challenges, perspective is that the challenge or the problem is like our world. It's like our entire life. It's like, and it's an identity crisis. It's like you're identifying with this thing as it's you and it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
You can be bigger than that, right? And the challenge is, one way people maybe lose sight of being able to do that is they lose sight of, like, how bad it really could have been or how bad it is for others. So, what helped me through my challenges, or helps me in general, is just like having understanding, like, man, it could always be worse. Like, even with my accident now, dude, it hurts all the time. I'm always in pain. Even right now, I'm like moving my foot around. You don't even know that, because my right foot is just like sharp pain right now. And it's not necessarily easy, obviously, by any means, but there are people that have, no legs and no arms, right? There are some people that, literally, even if I, lost both of my legs, like, there are people that, literally, dude. I mean, obviously, I was just in New York. A lot of people saw that, and I was modeling for Tommy Hilfiger, which is so crazy, for adaptive clothing for disabilities, people with disabilities, and it was just so humbling, man. Because you see, there's like, dude, there was literally kids there that were blind, like they literally had like the stick in their hand, and they're just like tapping the floor, like literally, you and I just. We get to. I see you got that nice chain. You got your nice snapback. You got cool clothes. We got our looks, and we can appreciate life in the sense of the colors, and look around and look cool, and like
we could take
look,
it in.
all of this stuff. And if you're blind, you don't get to experience any of that. You don't get to see. Literally, you're just blind. You're just close your eyes, and that's what you see 24/7.
Yeah.
Day, all day, always, 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 right? Or deaf. You can't hear anything, right? Can't hear anything. It's just, things can always just be worse. So it's always about how can you find, just gratitude in the midst of challenges that will help your perspective. Just realize, yeah, it's tough, but man, I can get through this, man. It could be worse. I'm grateful for what I do have. Right. So that's number one practical thing. That's just something practically people can do, is just find things in your life that you can be grateful for, rather than focusing on the things that you either are bereft, you don't have, or you wish you had, or whatever the things are. So that's number one. But then number two is just environment, right? I mean, that's a practical thing, is like sometimes people just aren't in the right environment, and we just overlook the power of, birds of a feather flock together, right? We hear that, we hear these phrases all the time, misery, needs company, or,
company.
all these things that, like, really point to who you're surrounded by and what you're surrounded by really does affect kind of like your outlook as well on things, right? So I like to think of environment as like your physical environment, and then your online environment. Like, there's two different environments. Like, physical is like everything around you, your family, your friends, people you hang out with, yada, 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 like all of that stuff. You can change your environment and put yourself in environments where people empower you, they strengthen you, they inspire you, and you just feel like you can do. I tell people all the time, man, you hang out with me long enough, you're gonna feel like you can do anything. I mean, that's just the way. That's environment, right? Like, you just be in an environment of people that make you feel unstoppable and just empower you, rather than small, or rather than average, rather than, man, everything's hard and the world's shutting down and the interest rates are going up and yada yada, all these different things. Get in a better environment. But even online, what you're seeing, it's so funny. I might meet someone that might be successful. Yeah, and it's like, you look at their Instagram or something, and like it's just stuff. It's just like
I mean, like, I want to piggyback on that too, man, because like I feel, and this is my opinion, I feel like it's so much easier for people to find a negative group to run with, right? It's so much easier to find people who have, who always want to complain about something, or the world is, woe is me, and there's always something going wrong. And I feel it's so much easier to find that, right, than it is to find, like you're talking about, like a group of people that are, everyone's striving, everyone's wanting to work, towards success. Everybody's wanting to better themselves and better other people around them. And I think the biggest thing behind that is because you actually have to seek that, right? Yeah. You actually have to seek wanting to find people who are, wanting to progress and wanting to grow. And it's easy to just, everybody has those people. I mean, everybody knows them, right? Everybody has those people, and it's it's common, right? That they want to complain and, want to, bitch about this or that or whatever. But I feel like it's a lot harder to kind of pick yourself up and like find that group. And I think a big piece of that is, you've probably experienced this as well, trying to build your brand and everything like that. I feel like people get, almost like discouraged or almost like scared to reach out or like scared to, interact with you or whatever the case may be. And so it's harder for people to go against the grain to surround themselves with, like-minded people, or it costs, or, and there's a bit, there's a saying, right? You gotta pay to be in the right rooms. Right. And I think that just kind of, and that's not like a plug for anything or anything like that. There's a lot of rooms you can be in that are free, right? There's a lot of people you can talk to that are free, right? But I think that's a big piece. It's so much easier for people to find those people that just want to complain and have a negative outlook. And it's human nature, right? Human nature is to, bitch and moan about stuff, right? And it's a lot harder to find those people that are, wanting to be successful, wanting to, like you said, like preach gratitude, wanting to find the good in everything. And, it can always be worse, right? So how can I take this bad and make it a good,
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of that because I think that's huge, man. I think it's so much easier for people. And I think that's why like these groups like you're talking about are so, few and far between. They're out there. Like they are. Like the people are out there. And like what I found is like the more people I talk to that are like that, the more I realize that like the conversations are so much better. And I feel good at the end of the conversation. Like I feel good having conversations with people versus like when you have conversations that are with people who are negative all the time and wanting to, complain about stuff, you get worked up, like you get heated,
Yep.
But yeah, man, like I wanted to piggyback off of that because I genuinely feel like that's a big like barrier to entry for people.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just it's just the easier way, right? I mean, it's sometimes it's hard for you to really see yourself sometimes in a successful light too. So you tend to not do the things that require you to go above and beyond because it's almost like, well, what's the point? I mean, I'm not going to be successful anyway. So you have to have the mindset. Again, it's all attitude and mindset and belief that success, number one, is capable for you, and also that you deserve to live the life that you want to live and can design. And then that'll basically get you onto that journey of seeking that out, right? Because you're only going to look for things that you see value in, right? I mean, watch TV and you don't know where the remote is, you're looking for it everywhere because you see value in finding that remote because it'll turn on the TV, right? So anything that you see value in, you will figure out a way, you will look for it, you will find it. So it's just helping people, see the value in themselves and realizing that you can be successful and you should be successful. Why not? If you have the opportunity, why? And just getting in the right environment to help people do that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think also too to your point, like believing that you should like that you can, right? Believing that you deserve that, believing that you can get to that point. I think more so than an outward belief, it's like it's an internal belief, right? Like, and I'll be honest, like I struggled with that for a long time. Like dude, like there was points where like we were making more than I've ever made before, and I was like, whoa, like what, like what, why, like why? And so like it took a lot to like actually realize like, okay, no, I deserve this, like I deserve to be here. I deserve to get dude, like we worked our asses off. I deserve to be here. We've struggled the struggle to realize the fruits of the labor. Right. So I think because anybody can go out there and have an outward, I believe this, I believe in this, I believe in me, I believe in myself. But outside of the outward belief in yourself, like I think the internal belief in yourself is huge too, and I think not too many people talk about that. Like, because I can go out there and post all the time about how, how good we're doing and how much I believe in our team and how much I believe in me and how much I believe in this. But if I don't believe it, like actually like believe it and live it, it's completely wrong, and it shows, right? I've been there. Like I said, like whenever that was going on, dude, the business was so hard, like so hard. I mean, it was, right? Like trying to structure things and trying to bring people in and trying to do all that was so hard because it was like I was outwardly saying I believed in it, but up here it was like, what is going on?
Right.
We're making money, but why? So I think that's huge, man. So we had a question come in. Somebody asked, they said, what would be your advice for someone who wants to get started but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's kind of like what I said, and this is not to be condescending to that individual. It's a great question, but it's kind of just, things are more simpler than we make it. And it's kind of like I said, if you see the value in something, you're going to figure out a way. And I think the reality is, if you're trying to really start, if you're really, really, really wanting to move forward, I'm assuming when you mean by start, you mean like get started in real estate investing, or maybe even particularly wholesaling real estate, or whatever the case is. You got to really see that there's value in you actually getting involved in real estate investing, and having and being able to have that success, like we talked about. Number one, like, you got to deserve that. Like, there's some people that, like, it's not even a I'm curious or I would like to, they need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like where I was, where it was in the middle of COVID and I needed to make something happen. So
I
my
feel that, dude.
search, yeah, my search complicated. I wasn't asking myself like, man, where do I start? I was just like, I'm just starting. I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Something.
I'm
I'm
just
going to do
doing it.
something. It's even if it's, going on YouTube and looking up, how do I make my, whether it's, I see some guy that's doing real estate deals and I just ask him like, hey man, I'm really trying to get started. Like, you will find it's not, I think the bigger problem. I truly don't think people don't know how to start. I think people are more so looking for either permission, or they're looking for it to be easier to start. Honestly, I really believe because most of us are intuitive to understand that we could go on Google, we could go on YouTube, we see it all over social media, Instagram. I mean, there's so many, like, TikTok videos on real estate, or YouTube videos. All you got to do is type in how to get started in real estate on YouTube. 5,000 videos from 50,000 different people, of like how they talk about how they got started, whatever. I mean, it is so easy today to find the information. So it's not really the information, right? If information changed our lives, then we would be a lot happier, a lot skinnier, and a lot wealthier, right? It's not about the information. I could tell you all day
The
how to
information's out there for everything.
yeah, I could tell you all day, the information on how to get in shape, how to get fit. I can tell you all day the information on how to build wealth. But the reality is, it's just the action, right? It's just the action. So for that individual, I'm kind of picking on you a little bit, just because it's more so I'm picking on everybody who maybe has that challenge, and really more so just trying to empower rather than pick on you. I'm just saying that. But the reality is, I'm really just trying to, push and empower, that, it's much easier than you're making it seem. I think the bigger question is, why are you not taking the action you should take? So it's not about, I don't know, like, what would you say to someone like, what's the first step, or how do I get started? I think the bigger question is, why haven't you gotten started? Because you know how to get started. Martin Luther King says you don't need to see the whole staircase to get to the top. You just need to see the first step, right? So people usually see that first step. It could be so simple, like a YouTube search, like a Google search, like a ask a friend type of thing. I mean, if you're already on this, like, live streaming, I mean, you're already someone, I mean, who's probably in a community or environment where you could just literally find out, how'd you get started in real estate, or go on YouTube and look for. I mean, you're already in that mindset. So it's less about more information, and it's more about more action. Like, why, ask yourself, why am I not taking the step that I know I should take to get to that next step? Or that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%, man. I think too many people get caught up in that analysis paralysis stage, right? Where it's like they want to try to learn every little detail and every little thing that could go wrong and will go wrong, right? Before they even take that first step. When in reality, like, by taking the first step, you're already ahead of 99% of other people. Like, by like you said, by taking that step onto the stairs, you're already ahead of all the people that are sitting there looking at it. And so, like, I agree 100%. Like, I think for anybody that's looking to get started, or, wants advice on how to get started, I think the advice on how to get started is start. like that's my advice on how to get started. Start. Like, use your free time. If you're working a job right now, like, I hate the term 9 to 5, right? Because, like, nowadays I don't feel like hardly anything's 9 to 5, right? I feel like so many jobs now have escaped that traditional 9 to 5, schedule. So I think if you're working a job, like, I think the biggest thing to get started is use every bit of free time you can to talk to people, like, whether that be sellers, investors, other wholesalers in your market, whatever the case is. Like you said, there's so much free content out there, so much paid content. There's so many mentorships out there, so many courses available out there. Like there's so many ways to ingest the knowledge that, like you said, like that's not the issue. Like the issue for someone trying to get started is that they haven't started yet. Like, and like the biggest thing I would say is like it's going to be imperfect. Like too many people focus on trying to be perfect and trying to get the perfect business model or perfect plan in place, where like, dude, I can tell you, you're a prime example. From the time you start till your business model will change drastically, and yours will probably shift again, down the road. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like too many people, I think, try, because, it's the whole thing with school, right? School teaches you to write this this long business plan and, do a SWOT analysis of everything and all this other stuff like that. When in reality, like, you just need to do it. You just need to go, like ready, shoot, aim, like,
That's it.
Yeah. So, but man, I appreciate you hopping on, man. We're nearing to an hour, so we'll wrap this thing up. What's one thing that, you want to leave everybody with, as like a sign off, and, kind of motivation moving forward?
Yeah, the one thing I'd leave for everyone is just, find your faith. You know what I mean? I think that's so important. It's so easy to figure out, how much money you need to be able to pay your bills. It's very easy to figure out how to build wealth. It's very easy to figure out, how to get started in real estate investing, how to make money, very easy to figure out how to travel, even sometimes how to travel for free, buy credit cards and do this. And the bonus, pay off this, and there's just so much information out there for like creating more resources. I think what's the problem for people, because even when you have enough resources, or even if you have more than enough, it still doesn't help a lot of people with like how they feel inside, or how they understand their role in life in general, to really feel fulfilled. And there's a lot of rich people that aren't happy, or there's a lot of wealthy people that are that honestly, unfortunately, there's people that have honestly more resources than a lot of people could even think of, and commit suicide, or struggle with different things that, like, if you find your faith and really operate in your life aligned with that, it actually doesn't really matter at what income level you're at. You're always going to be wealthy. And I think that's the biggest problem for most people. Like for me, I feel wealthy. Do I make 5, 10, 15, 20 million a year? Absolutely not. I don't need that, right? I mean, I have a very wealthy life, because of, again, the lifestyle I have with my family, with my kids, my day to day, just the people that I'm impacting. I mean, there's so many. Oh my gosh. I can't even count the amount of people that I've helped, do their first wholesale deal, or make tens of thousands of dollars, or start their first real estate deal, or, or change their life mentally, physically, emotionally. There's just, and all of that just comes back around, right? I mean, to where, you have people reaching out for you to get on their podcast, where you have people like, like Tommy Hilfiger asking you to model their clothing, whatever it is, things that like people are going to gravitate towards you, and you're going to have a better, more fulfilled, more eventful, more exciting life. When you find your faith. So I'm not necessarily here. I'm not going to take the time to, obviously try and convert people to Christianity, but my faith is in Christ, and it really guides all the things that I do personally. It helped me through my accident. It's like 99%, 1% was really just the mindset and attitude, again, gratitude, all these different things, but 99% of it, was really led by my belief and my faith in Christ. And then even how I operate with my wife, how I raise my children, as it talks about in scripture, how to, how I run my business, how, the money that I make, how I serve, how I pour back into others, how I just do deals in general. Why am I so abundant in giving, rather than scarcity and taking? And a lot of people are, but it's because they're not rooted in faith. So they're just kind of operating based off of natural instincts, and their ability to navigate in life. And there's too many opinions out there. There's too many, there's just too much to try and figure out on your own. You need to find your faith, and you need to be guided, rather than just trying to like hustle, be guided. It's so much easier, right? I mean, you think about the word hustling and then guiding, right? I mean, guiding just seems so much more, impactful than someone just hustle. It just seems harsh, right? hustling. But when you're guided, you're being impacted, you're being led. And I think when people focus more so on just fulfillment and finding their faith and really understanding who they are as an individual, a lot of other things kind of fall into place. And maybe not at the time that you want, but I mean, just, hindsight is 2020. I mean, you'll look back and realize this and that. And again, not everything needs to move fast. But again, I think finding your faith is so it's so powerful. It's just not talked about enough. So anyway, that'd be kind of the last thing I'd leave.
Love it, man. No, I agree, man. I think wealth is defined by what you see value in and what you seek. I don't think obviously monetary is part of it, but I think being wealthy is different aspects and multiple facets of life, right? So I couldn't agree with you more, man. Well, cool, man. Myles, dude, I really appreciate you hopping on, man. Great to catch up with you, chop it up a little bit, man, and hopefully we can reconnect again, soon. Let me know if you guys are ever coming back down to Florida, and I'll do the same once we make a trip back up there.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, because what part of Florida are you in?
We're in Jacksonville right now. We're gonna be in Orlando within the next year.
Oh, Orlando. Oh, dude, heck yeah. Oh yeah, that's a fun place.
Yeah, man. So,
cool.
Well, awesome, cool, man. Brother. I appreciate it. I'm gonna stop this and we'll sign off.
Awesome, brother. Man, I appreciate you, dude. Much love. Thanks so much.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining. That was Myles Berrio. Good guy. Great to have him on. Good friend of mine. Make sure you guys tune in next week, 1 p.m. We got another great episode for you guys lined up. And